everyone. Welcome to this year's Comic-Con at Home Panel 2021 for Fear the Walking Dead. We have an amazing group together today to talk about what's coming up in Season 7 for Fear the Walking Dead. So let's just get into it. We're going to introduce our panel. First, let's start with the Walking Dead Universe Chief Content Officer. Mr. Scott M. Gimple is here. Also, executive producers Ian Goldberg and Andrew Chambliss. And you want cast members? You got cast members. Our first one is Mr. Lenny James Morgan himself. Also, Alicia Debnam Carey is here. Coleman Domingo joining us. Denai Garcia, Luciana herself. Jenna Elfman is on the panel also. Karen David joining us. Incredible wallpaper. Oh, Collins also joining us on the panel today. And as Sherry, Christine Evangelista is here, rounding out your 2021 Comic-Con at Home virtual lineup. All right, first things first, Ian and Andrew, before we get into what we're going to expect in Season 7, let's talk about when we're going to expect Season 7. When are we back?
We are very happy to announce that the Season 7 premiere of Fear the Walking Dead will be Sunday, October 17th at 9/8 Central on AMC. We'll be premiering our first 8 episodes. And if you're a fan who can't wait that long, there'll be new episodes premiering early on AMC Plus all season. So look for them there. And we're very excited.
So let's talk a little bit about what happened at the end of Season 6 so we can talk about going into Season 7. It literally was you've heaped another apocalypse onto the existing apocalypse.
Yeah, I mean, we I guess put a nuclear submarine in the premiere of the season, and I think if you have a nuclear submarine, you have to fire one of the missiles. That was our Chekhovian sub. But yeah, we were looking for a way to reinvent the show. And yeah, we're going to, I think, kind of reset everyone in terms of apocalypse survival. Everyone's kind of back to zero, having to learn how to do it all over again.
Yeah, exactly, because it's like they were just kind of adapting to the existing apocalypse, and now this whole other, which was teased a lot throughout the season, as we saw that they had to avoid radiation. There was a sort of a radiation poisoning sub story that was going on throughout that season. And so, you know, what are we going to be able to expect moving forward about how this affects their world?
Well, it's going to be a big escalation beyond what we saw in Season 5. We're dealing with multiple nuclear warheads that have detonated across the landscape. It's going to change everything. It's going to change the walkers. It'll change how our characters navigate the world outside, where in a lot of cases the air is not breathable unless through a gas mask. Resources are going to be more scarce. And we'll also see that it's going to, as with any new apocalypse, bring about a whole new brand of human adversary as well that will challenge our group. So it's a whole new world in a lot of different ways.
So for that October 17th date of the premiere date, are there any new cast members? Is there anything that you can tease that's coming up?
Yep. We're happy to say that Sydney Lemon will be returning as Isabel. We're excited about that. Omid Abtahi, who everyone saw in the finale opposite Coleman, he'll be back. And then also we'll have a couple new cast members, and one of them we can reveal is Gus Halper, but won't say much about who he's playing.
All right, so these are new cast members. We know that it's October 17th. We actually have an exclusive clip of the new season that we're going to play for you right now, so you can start to get prepared for October 17th in this new world of Fear the Walking Dead. Here it is.
just go to sleep.
So. Let's go. You're good. I know, baby. I know. Shh. It's all right. You're doing great. Come here now. Come here. You're doing good. It's all right. It's all right. I got you.
What's wrong?
It's the same as last time. All right, she's hungry.
All right, so let's just jump right in and start talking about Morgan and Grace, but we'll start with Lenny. You've been in the zombie apocalypse for 11 years now, Lenny, so can you talk about what this new layer of nuclear apocalypse adds and how Morgan will even begin to approach this?
Wow, that's a good question. I mean, it's the obvious question, but it's also a good one. It's going to take everybody by surprise. Luckily, you know, Morgan happens to be having a relationship with someone who's a nuclear expert. So, you know, we got somebody on hand who, when he doesn't know what to do, can go, "Don't do that, you idiot, you'll die." So, so that's kind of useful. I think it's, you know, Morgan and Grace were ready to call it a day based on what the after effects of these bombs dropping might bring with them. So, and then they heard the baby cry, and now they have to live for that child, and they have to build a future for that child. And I think that's pretty much where Morgan's focus is as we start in season 7. He's renewed in a way in his determination to build a world that's worthy of little Mo living in.
and so, but to see, yes, in the old rules where it was just a zombie apocalypse, but in this new world now, how will he find hope? Like, how do you find hope when you've come so far and it's like now this basically?
Yeah, I mean, I think finding hope is kind of could be the title of this whole next season, and it could apply to all of the different characters. We've all got to find our version of what we think hope is, really. I mean, there has to, for Morgan, his determination is kind of layered upon layered on him needing to find a world that's worthy of this child, needing to find a world that will support him and Grace, but also needing to find a world that support the other people that he cares about. I mean, it's like his ongoing mission to, you know, seek out a new world that will satisfy his desire to look after these people.
Speaking of looking after people, we have a social question from Love Mag 2 who says, do you think Morgan ever wonders about the group he left back home and what they're doing?
Minute I turned around and walked away, I forgot about all of them. Don't even know their names. Forgot their names. And I think one of them's called Nick Dimes, something like that. But
Nick Dimes.
Former private.
forgot about him.
Nick Dimes.
Forgot about him.
Nicky Dimes. Nicky Dimes.
Nicky Dimes. I'm Nicky. I'm the sheriff of this here town.
There's right there, Nick Dimes. Running
And his son Dahl.
Leadership.
I think Morgan, obviously, there are people back in Virginia that Morgan carries in his heart and always will. And I think those are obvious to anybody who's kind of followed his journey. But, you know, he is now existing in a place where there is an immediacy of the people that he cares about and loves. And he's got in a weird way, he's paying homage to the people that he left behind by looking after these people in a way that he was looked after by them.
And yes, Lenny, like you pointed out, yes, of course, it is very fortunate that Grace happened to be a nuclear scientist. But I want to shift a bit and talk about Grace and her journey this season was an incredibly heartbreaking storyline. And as we're sort of moving forward and seeing, you know, what this world is becoming, Karen, where is Grace right now, and how do you think she will be moving forward in this new reality?
I can only hope that Grace will be of some use, because we're seeing very much a shadow of Grace with everything that happened, obviously, in 612 in Dreams, and her trying to navigate through each day bearing this unbearable cross that she has to carry, and trying to figure out, you know, what her future is and what life and her journey means. So there's, I think being the scientist and gives her a really welcome distraction from having to deal with the pain that she's having to go through. So in that sense, she just throws herself fully into it, because when it comes to, I mean, it's Grace is used to being in situations where, you know, she's used to very stressful situations. So it's nice to see the dynamic between her and Morgan kind of shift a bit, where, you know, you might see Morgan a little rattled, understandably, with everything that's happening, but Grace coming in very, you know, that's one thing that she can rely on is her methodical nature and following facts and, you know, hopefully guiding the group to safety and making sure that everyone's as safe as possible.
This is a social question from @Dabutera, who wants to know, what is your favorite part of being Grace?
Well, Ian and Andrew and Scott, they keep me on my toes. So, and I'm so grateful for that as far as storylines go. Certainly in season 6, I got this chance to do things that I've never done before. And in Dreams is just one of those standalone, you know, episodes, something very different that we've never done in the universe before, stylistically and storyline wise. And I'm so proud of our universe to be talk about such a very sensitive issue that many people, many families have had to endure, and many have had to feel that they couldn't talk about infancy loss openly. And the feedback just on that episode and Grace's journey alone has just been so overwhelming. Like, there's so many families that have said that they appreciated so much that we delved into that, as poignant and as heartbreaking as it was, but they felt seen. And I'm really, really proud of that. I think what I love about Grace is just seeing her change and evolve, you know, through her relationship with Morgan and interacting with the group and allowing herself to open up more and to find renewed purpose as she moves forward. And, you know, the whole gang have played a big part in that. So to see her step away a bit from, you know, more of her thinking more methodically and moving forward with a bit more heart and emotion, I think is something really exciting for me as an actor to play too.
Well, I mean, again, you gave such an incredible performance this season, Karen. Truly, it was really incredible to watch, and it's really wonderful to have you in the Walking Dead universe.
Oh, you're gonna make me cry now.
I'd love to talk to Alicia now about this amazing and wonderful announcement that you will be directing an episode this next season.
I didn't know we were making the announcement here. This is so exciting.
That's huge. That's huge.
I know.
Coleman's directed and Lenny's directed. So let's talk about directing. When did you decide this was something that you wanted to do? How are you going to approach it? What are you looking forward to?
I'm so excited. Like, I cannot tell you just how excited I am. I think it's something I've wanted to do, honestly, for a few years now, but I didn't think I had quite the handle on it yet. And I hadn't had a chance to shadow direct, which is where you shadow one of the directors, our reoccurring directors on the show. And in my case, I'm really lucky at the moment. I get to shadow our producing director, Mikey Satrazemis, which is super exciting. But I had wanted to do it for a long time. And then just before season 7 started, I was like, I just have to throw my hat in the ring and just see if Ian and Andrew will let me do it. And everyone was just so supportive and encouraging. And they were like, of course, that would be amazing. And we would love for you to do that. I'd seen Lainey and Coleman do it, and how it had changed their perspectives as an actor, as someone in the film and TV industry. It was another creative layer that I've wanted to explore for a really long time. And I just knew I had to throw my hat in the ring and give it a shot. I'm so nervous, but it's going to be great.
It's going to be amazing. And especially because you've had so much experience just working on shows, but particularly this show you've been with since the beginning.
Yeah.
You know the world of the show so well. It's going to be so incredible. And I really hope that we're able to do a Talking Dead for the episode you direct, so you can come on and talk about the experience.
Yeah, that would be really, really cool. I think, it's definitely having that, knowing the show from the pilot is one of the reasons why I felt I could do it too, because I know the show inside and out. I know, and I know I know and love our crew and cast so much that it feels like the next step in a way.
Well, let's talk about where Alicia is at in this, as we're ending the season and going to the next one. So the last time we saw Alicia, Teddy has her locked away in a bunker, and she screams something to the effect of, I won't make the world what you hope or want for me to make it. What does she mean by that?
She's this pawn in his game. And I think, Alicia's so against being forced to do anything that isn't authentically her or herself. And here's this madman, essentially, who's betting on her being able to lead a group of people in a situation that she never intended for herself to be in. And I think what really is becoming a defining trait of Alicia is that she's a reluctant leader. I think she's never wanted to be in that position. I don't think she's ever really seen herself as a leader. I think she's fiercely protective of the people she's with, and an amazing warrior as well. But she doesn't see herself in that position. So it's sort of a defiant proclamation of, I'm not going to do what you want me to do, because she doesn't believe that that's the person she is. But I think it weirdly is also kind of part of her defining characteristic, that she is sort of meant to be in that situation. I think one thing I did want to mention as well is a shout out to John Glover, who played Teddy. He carried the back half of this season as a villain with just such amazing chops. He is such an incredible actor and brought so much to this season. And I think we all wanted to just give a shout out to him because he's so amazing. And unfortunately, he can't be here right now, but he really made this season what it was. So, yeah.
He's such an incredible actor in everything that he does. I was so excited when y'all added him to the cast this season. So it was just an amazing choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we were all excited as well. Because he's one of those actors where you kind of go, John Glover's doing it. Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Game on.
Yeah.
We loved having him around. He was a huge amount of fun. As much fun as he was on camera, he was just a party every time off camera. He was just
a beautiful actor.
Yeah.
Lovely.
And he just keeps you on
around.
your toes every time. Every scene, you're just on your toes. Like, what is he going to do next? He's such a just creative inspiration all the time. He's just never playing it by the book. He's doing it as freely as possible. It's so fun to play with. It's so fun to act with. Yeah.
And I think it's a real testament to our show and what we're doing that we're getting actors like John Glover and Keith Carradine kind of coming over and joining us.
Absolutely. We have a fan question. T Walking D World wants to know which character currently on the show has had the biggest impact on Alicia, and who has she had the biggest impact on?
Whoa. I don't know who she's had the biggest impact on. I feel like that's not for me or her to say, really. But I guess the character, I do think that obviously Victor Strand has always been such a pillar of what the old world was for her, and then moving through, he cannot not be such an influential figure for her. But really, Morgan, I think there's a lot of similarities between Alicia and Morgan and what they represent, and he's always been able to bring her back to what seeing the good in people means, and following what you think is the good path, the right path. But in terms of who she's influenced the most, I don't know.
But speaking of Strand, Coleman Domingo, it's lovely to see you. I miss you, my friend, and
I miss you too.
So let's talk about Team Strand. Listen, he's always, been suited at sort of finding what works for him and figuring out how to kind of game situations, and I think as audience members, we're all sort of going like, oh, whose side is he on? We know he's always on Strand's side, but sometimes maybe not. And then in the finale, it seems like, okay, he's going to have this, he's really going to change. But then the opposite happened, and he really doubles down on Team Strand. He takes this as a sign of like, yes, I am clearly doing the right thing because I have survived and I'm here. So can you talk a little bit about that and what might be next for him moving forward?
Sure, that's a big question. I think basically to sum it up is that Strand has always had instincts for survival that have always been challenged by public opinion. And so I think that he has always tried to fall in line with other ideologies, and they didn't make sense to him. And so he had to really, I think in this moment, in that the final episode of season 6, I think what the writers designed and what, our collaboration meant was that it was time for Strand to double down on his instincts and to understand exactly what he's been doing has led to him still being alive, especially after a nuclear fallout. So at some point he's like, okay, maybe I wasn't wrong. Everyone keeps telling me I'm wrong and maybe you shouldn't do that, or you're too harsh or too pragmatic. And he's like, you know what? F that. It's time for me to double down on Strand and see what that journey is. And that's what I think is exciting about this next chapter for Victor Strand, because we haven't seen Victor Strand double down on fully being Victor Strand. We've seen him always challenged by with his moral compass. And now I think he's going to see what the world is like when he rebuilds the world that he believes it can be, not falling into anyone's ideology. And that's what I think is exciting about the characters, especially after 6 seasons,
I mean, do constructs like hero and villain even apply in this particular case? Because I know, people have asked, like, well, is Strand a hero? Is he an anti-hero? Is he a villain? What, I mean, does that
you know what I think? I think terms like that, because it's an apocalypse, he probably is like, I'm not really dealing with those terms. He doesn't deal with straight or gay. He doesn't deal with anything. He's like, you know what? I'm going to rebuild the world and make it the way it seems to me. I think the way he's written, I think, is really complex in that way. I think from his point of view, he's always a hero. I don't think he's ever doing anything. I think Victor doesn't ever think he's doing anything villainous. He's doing it for survival. It may not be what others would do, but he's like, he's looking at the value add of everything and making very harsh decisions that are not governed by, how can I say it, love.
Well, but I think you defined it really perfectly before, which ultimately is he's finally going to be the most authentic Victor Strand that he is.
Yes, he's going to out Victor Strand.
Well, there's another social question from Jay Neufer, who says, and this kind of maybe goes back to the second half of Alicia's question, do you think the relationship between Alicia and Strand will improve?
Absolutely. No, I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know. I think that's for Ian and Andrew to decide. I think that we have built characters that are very strong in their convictions. Every single character on the Zoom now is very firm in their convictions and what they believe in. And I think that causes great friction. You can take two characters who are polar opposites. Like I loved any time the writers would put me with John Dory, and our ideologies were completely different. But you had to see, I think that's what we're trying to examine in our culture. It's like, how can two people in polar opposites find a meaningful ground to love each other, care, because all you want is the same thing. So I think that that's what our writers are doing so beautifully, is to really just say, examine these people who you feel like have nothing in common, and you'll see that they're more alike than unlike. So I think that possibly, we have that friction, possibly we can come together, possibly we can have new meaning for each other, or possibly we can blow it all up.
I'd love to talk to Danai about Luciana's journey in having been a part of so many different communities since we first saw her, and having different roles in each community and learning different skill sets. First of all, is there one in particular that feels most valuable to her? And has she felt at home, or were there any that she has felt more at home, if at all?
I think for her, how you go, like, home is where love is, home is where family is. I think that part of her survival has been that kind of motto. Like for her, believe it or not, Tanktown was her home. It was a dirty home, right. But it was very dangerous. Okay, it's not a home that everybody would like to have. But
the Airbnb would say rustic.
Thank you.
Rustic charm.
Rustic charm.
Close to very, very apocalyptic home lifestyle. No wallpapers. Very dirty, but it was where love for her was. Is like her people are there, and she felt meaning in that. When the whole thing exploded, it's just, I remember just being so heartbroken about it, because like even when shooting that, like Jenna was there, Mo was there, who else was there? Well, we know it was like, it was hard to shoot, but it was, for me, the journey was really tough, like this is what we're working so much and it's burned. And then, now she's kind of like regrouping that part of her too, but that's been kind of part of her survival, just finding that home where that is. If it's dirty, like I'm going to embrace it. I'm going to be good at it just for the good of all, I feel like what Coleman was saying, it's all about trying to survive. However, each one of our characters, they just have filtered how to survive in a different way. And sometimes we don't agree, sometimes we kill. And that's just kind of the magical part of the show. It's like nobody's the same, but we're trying to do the right thing.
So Danai, I have a social question for you. I believe this might be from Twitter. The user's name is @aflower2Alicia, who asks, what would you like to see with Luciana this next season?
You know, I'd love to see her use everything she's learned. Like she's been through so much. And I feel like she's getting to a point now that either she's going to use everything and it's going to be all like, she's going to be that explosion instead of like dealing with somebody else's, explosion. Either she's going to explode or she's going to like transform into something, right? She's at that kind of like place right now. And the funny thing is that nobody knows that about her. Everybody feels like, when you're so strong, like nobody pays attention to you because everybody thinks that you can handle it. So she's never been the complainer. She's never showed any trace of like, I'm weak, I'm not feeling good. She's always been like a rock for everything, for everybody. But I think that she's at a point right now that, she's going to show her true colors and what that is. Is that a rainbow? Is that fire? What is that? What colors is that inside her that it's been cooking for a long time? It's a lot of grief and ups and downs that she's been. It's crazy.
Goddamn Gimple, I'd love to talk about bigger picture universe stuff right now. And we see that the season ends with several members of the group heading out in a CRM helicopter. So are we going to see more story crossover here? And can you sort of tease about what's coming down the pipeline on that front?
Oh, Chris. How are you?
Hector, by the way, those look very heavy. Your lanyard.
Like, I'm just, I will say, and we talked about this on other panels even, like each show has a different piece of the puzzle, but those pieces of the puzzle are very much, they aren't just plot. There are personal stories for the characters that do advance aspects of like the greater mythology. But the CRM stuff in Fear really has to do with a couple characters very deeply. And their situation, it bleeds out to other characters, but it's part of a personal and emotional story on this show. It just so happens, though, that it does give other information to like the greater world in which they inhabit. And there is like sort of interesting historical or prequel aspects because this happens earlier than things we see on the other shows.
When you sort of think about timelines on the show and realize that by the time, like when we watch the other shows, there has already been a nuclear apocalypse in the southern part of the United States, basically. But they are just obviously not aware of that at all. But that's already happened in their past.
Yeah. And there's certain people who are aware of it, and there's certain people who aren't. And there's certain ways that it feeds story. But we lead with each of these shows, with the characters of these shows first, with how it affects those characters on those shows. And it's definitely about the individual journeys rather than the mythology. Those serve the mythology in that we get a peek at more through them.
Sort of jumping off that, here's a great social question that ties into that from @Reno95. Do you expect the Walking Dead and Fear universes to get together in the same timeline at some point?
They're pretty far away from each other right now. And we've talked about things on this show, and we've talked about things on other shows, and I'll give you one of those standard, it's possible. I know that's super satisfying. It's possible.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
Right. That's the SAT question that's the answer at the bottom that's like, or none of the above. Oh man, come on, just let it be one of them. What are we doing?
I'm sorry.
That's all right. We actually have a second clip to show for the upcoming season of Fear. Andrew and Ian, can you give us a little information about what we're about to show?
When we last saw June and John Dory Sr., we saw them going into a bunker to survive the nuclear blast. And one thing we know is that bunker belonged to Teddy. So they are going into a bunker that was not only made by the man who destroyed the world, but also was made by the man who destroyed John Dory's world a very long time ago when he became obsessed with putting Teddy away in jail.
All right, so here's our second clip of Fear the Walking Dead Season 7.
John! Are you okay?
Yeah.
What is that? Do you see anything?
It's another room.
What? What is this place?
Teddy. This is where he killed all those women. It's where it all started. We could never find it. It was under our feet the whole time.
He's gone. John. He can't do this to anyone ever again. So let's just seal this room up. Pretend it doesn't exist.
It's not too late. It's never too late.
So obviously, Teddy's gruesome actions are even beyond what we've seen, and they're still discovering those now. I guess my question for Andrew and Ian is are we going to continue to be dealing with, for lack of a better word, the fallout of Teddy's actions prior to the nuclear detonation, and kind of, are they going to be working through all of the horrible things that he's done and dealing with them throughout this season?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And that particular episode is really going to tackle that. I think we saw last season with June's help, Dory Sr. kind of helped put some of his ghosts and demons from the past to rest. But there are a few big ones that are still kicking around inside of him. And that scene that we just saw where he's discovering this kill room where Teddy killed all the women back in the 70s just reignites these terrible old wounds for Dory Sr. that he's going to have to grapple with. And he's going to have to do it in a world that Teddy has destroyed while in a bunker surrounded by the memory of all the horrible things that he did. So it's going to put both Dory and June to the test. And we're going to see a new evolution of that relationship as well.
For Jenna, like moving forward, you know, June has relied so heavily on her medical skills over the years. Are we going to keep seeing this moving forward into season 7, into this kind of really uncharted territory?
Well, that's always in her, you know. I think that's, you know, that's her training. So that's always at the ready when needed. But I think, you know, moving forward into this new world of all the things she's been through, one of the things I love about June's evolution is she, with every experience, you know, she kind of adds another ability or capacity to her like survival tool belt and her spiritual tool belt. So I think now that this big disaster has happened, it's going to be her finding for herself her own how to have that strong footing on the ground, and where is value for her, of where she can bring value to the situation she finds herself in. And it does kind of just clear that slate. You can't obviously get rid of your experiences, but they're all informing her now to how she's going to move forward from her own point of view, based on her own integrity, based on, how do you do more than just survive, and what does that mean for her?
Right. And obviously watching her have this incredibly healing moment this season with John Dorie Sr. after what happened to John, is she, I guess, is she able to kind of move forward? Is she ready for this new bizarre nuclear reality?
God, that's such a great reason to watch the show. These are the beautiful.
He was very pleased as a chief content officer.
Yeah, I mean, that is the question for why to watch this story unfold with her.
All right, well then, how about this? Obviously, there were big plans to open a hospital under Virginia's rule last season. Is that still something that she wants to do?
I think any way that she can find within the environment that she is in a way to add value to her fellows. I think that's something that keeps her sane. It keeps her oriented to the world. So that's always going to be, I think, a top priority for June. Like I said, is, finding her footing on how to add value in a world that's just been destroyed.
Mo, hello.
Hi, how are you?
It's good to see you. Welcome
It's very nice to see you.
Welcome to Comic-Con at Home panel. So Sarah had some really amazing sayings. In a sandbox might be one of my particular favorites in the season finale, which is very quotable, should definitely be on a t-shirt. Do you have a particular favorite?
Oh, I pretty much anyone that on something. It's always good to find new places to So let's keep going with that.
I mean, in an apocalypse, that's literally true, by the way.
Well, it is. That is absolutely true. Shit on a stump, shit on a tree, shit on a nuke. There's so many places this can go. I mean, how many seasons do we have?
Like, every time she says one of those, it's a roadmap, and it's very telling. It's like, oh, is that what you did? Yeah, shit on a submarine. Sorry, guys.
Yes, she's actually revealing,
These are all the Easter eggs.
Yes, these are my Easter eggs. Oh, that's sad.
So, but I want to talk a little bit about Sarah and Wendell's relationship, because they were separated this past season, and she really struggled with that, understandably so. Is there any chance of a reunion coming up between Sarah and Wendell?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. Last I saw, I got on a helicopter. Man, I just hope that helicopter makes it.
Get on a helicopter.
But get on a helicopter. That's going to happen.
That's a really good one.
But the thing about it is, Sarah's getting into that helicopter without Wendell, and so what's being left behind here is, while she is with her found family, she's not with her soul. In looking ahead to season 7, I would imagine anyway that Sarah has to find a whole new way to live, really. She's been with Wendell since they were born. So this is a whole new navigation. There's a lot of individuality, I think, that Sarah has to confront.
Christina Evangelista, hello. Welcome to the panel.
Hi, Chris.
Hi. So Dwight and Sherry's reunion was obviously one of the most anticipated moments of the series, and when it happened, it was a little bit different, I think, than everyone had expected. But it really seemed to reach a turning point near the end there. So, is there still potential, like Grace's future dream, or where do you think she's at with that right now?
I think this season has done such a wonderful job at showing this emotional evolution of what happened with Sherry and the journey that she has to go through in order to be reunited with Dwight again, not just physically, but emotionally also. And I think there was just so much healing that occurred, and especially everything that happened with June and John, and seeing what real loss is like. And Sherry says at the end of the season, you know, I wasted so much time. I wasted so much time holding on to all of this pain and anger, just displaced anger, and on these missions that won't ultimately heal her. And I think she's really come to terms with it in a lot of ways. And so I think her relationship with Dwight will be stronger than ever because her relationship with herself is stronger than ever. And I think she realizes that the two of them can do a lot of good together again, you know, having everything that they've experienced and learned together. So I'm excited about it. I'm really excited about where their story is going to go. But I think they both realize that they're both really strong. They're stronger together. So
this is a question from Brian Castrillo 2, who wants to know, what was your favorite takeaway or memory from making season 6?
You know, season 6, I say this all the time. My favorite moment was the scene when Sherry and Dwight are being reunited again. It was just so fantastic to be working on the show again. And also to see how much that storyline took such a different meaning by the time the show aired. We shot it before the apocalypse. Listen to me. Same thing, before COVID. And so by the time it aired, you know, we had all been in quarantine for so many months. And so people miss their family members, their loved ones. They haven't seen each other in almost a year at that point. So these two characters seeing each other again just took on such a sincere meaning for so many people that watched it. And I think that's beautiful. And that's why we tell these stories, to help people tap into their own human experiences. And having the ability to do that, having something resonate as strong as this did, and especially as strong as that storyline did, is the reason that, you know, we do this, is the reason I do this. So that was my favorite scene.
He was unable to be here with us today, unfortunately, but Keith Carradine is such an incredible addition to the cast, and I just wanted to give a shout out to him. And maybe, Jenna, could you just talk a little bit about Keith and what your experience
legend.
Major
pure legend.
Keith is a total dream to work with. He has done so many incredible roles and told so many incredible stories in his career. And it's so cool. I think something that there's a synchronicity from my experience in Fear, probably in the Walking Dead universe too, I find there's always this interesting synchronicity. I don't know if it's coincidence, if it's something, you know, that Mr. Gimple says to the showrunners to find and incorporate, but there's like an essence of each person that they write to shine in these characters. And it's this little magical quality that they find. And I feel like with Keith, you know, he has such a legendary history as a cowboy or in Westerns. And so to cast him in this, and Keith has such goodness in him. He's like the perfect Dory, you know, to like that little beautiful spark of goodness that we came to love in John Dory Jr. I feel like he's such a good heart, and he's so true and lovely. So I just think it's really cool to see him cast in this. I just think it's beautiful.
And as we're wrapping this out, I just have questions for Andrew and Ian, sort of looking forward at season 7. You both have talked about Western films as inspirations for season 6, and I think that was very, very, very well executed. Are there any is that still a direction for season 7? Obviously, if we're getting into a nuclear apocalypse, that makes it a little bit tougher. But are there any films, or is there any kind of inspiration that you took for this next season?
Yes, I mean, I think Westerns, are kind of have become a fabric of the show. So that's going to continue. But, we are adding so many kind of new elements. In many ways, from what we've shot so far, in many ways, it feels like a new show. And, obviously we've looked for inspiration in a lot of unlikely places. And I think, I don't know, Ian, what would you say? It starts with some of kind of our favorite movies. And
yeah, I mean, we sort of globally, we construct it as a Western, but the movies themselves that have been inspiration this season have been everything from, we talked about Mad Max. We've talked about things as diverse as The Hills Have Eyes to The Never Ending Story. And I'll even give you The Wrestler.
See Mickey Rourke on the back of Falcor just flying.
Have you already seen the episode, Chris?
I'm so sorry. Damn it. We try. It's hard. It's hard to keep all this stuff inside. Are there any parting words for the panel about what to look forward to in season 7, or like what we can expect in season 7? This can come from anyone. Ian, Andrew, Scott, any of the cast.
Really, when the episodes start airing, really appreciate the beautiful visuals that our production designer Bernardo Trujillo has done, and our director of photographies. They have done an incredible job with the visual, the pigments, everything. It's like visually so incredible, and I just want to point that out for appreciation once they start airing.
Obviously, you must have done, to try to understand, like, what is sort of a nuclear fallout look like? What does that filter look like through this world?
Yeah, I mean, we've literally used up the entire supply of smoke bombs within the U.S. and had to start importing them from Europe.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, really, it's like another planet in some ways. It's a whole other landscape.
Well, season 6 ended on an incredible cliffhanger. I'm very excited to see where this goes in season 7. We'll be back October 17th at 9/8 Central, followed by an all-new Talking Dead. And then, but if you don't want to wait, you could just go to AMC Plus and you'll get it a bit early. So do that. Again, thank you so much, everyone. It's so wonderful to see your faces, and I hope you have a beautiful summer. And to everyone watching, thank you so much for tuning into Comic-Con at Home. Thanks to Comic-Con for having us for Fear the Walking Dead, Comic-Con at Home 2021. And we'll see y'all real soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.